Greetings my friends, I'm Don with Fix This House. Welcome to another video, Poolside Edition. Join me today as I walk you through the steps to install a new and upgraded pool filter on our above ground pool. Hopefully this will be of help to you. Thanks for joining me, let's go. Filter. Now this is a Coleman Power Steel pool from Walmart. It's the same as Bestway or Intex. Different brands, but it's really made by the same people and it's the same pool. And I have to be honest, the reason I'm upgrading and replacing that filter is because I'm a knucklehead. I left it out here all winter. It froze and cracked. Yep. I admit and confess to being a moron. But you know, since I have to replace it, I decided I want to upgrade to something a little better, and I'm going with a sand filter. It's going to be an upgrade, something that's going to be more adequate. Now this filter that comes with the pool is okay. It gets the job done, but let's say just barely. It's adequate, but not much more than that. Also, you've got to take it apart and clean that filter element every day, according to the instructions, and that's getting old also. So here's what I've got. It's the XtremePowerUS sand pool filter, 13-inch. It's got a 3/4 horsepower pump, includes a timer. So I think this is going to be just about right. This is for pools up to 10,000 gallons. The 18-foot pool that I have is about 6,500 gallons. So this will definitely be an upgrade, and I think it's going to give me increased filtering capabilities with less maintenance. So I'm excited. I'm going to do us all a favor. I'm going to take some time off camera and read through these instructions so you don't have to do it, and I'll come back and we'll put this and set this up together, and you'll be able to see how to do it yourself. Okay, so one of the first and most easiest steps is we're going to install the drain on our sand tank. And you've got these parts, and I'm going to lay them out here so you can see them in the order in which we'll use them. Alright, so it's like this. We're going to take the drain. This part's going to go in and it'll stick out like this. So we got to first start by putting on this gasket, rubber gasket. Then pass that through the tank. Okay, next another rubber gasket, and then the nut. And we'll just take him all the way up. And we're just going to hand tighten this. I don't think we need to use any tools on this part. I think hand tight is all that needs to be. All right. And finally there's a cap, and it also has a gasket in there. All right, so there's our tank drain. That part's done. That was easy. Our next step is to secure the filter pump and base to our platform with the pump on top of it. So you can see I got 2 holes through the base of the pump. Strangely, despite all the holes here, none of them line up perfectly with the 2 holes in the bottom of the pump. Although these 2 are kind of close, so that's what I'm going to go with. So you got to figure out how to secure this to your platform, and I'm going to use a combination of bolts and washers on this side and screws on this side. That because I've got a stud that goes down the middle of my platform, so we'll use the screws into that. And there's nothing under here, so we'll use the nuts and bolts to go through here. So that's my plan. Like so, a washer and a nut from below. That'll work out just fine. This is just a plastic base, so you don't want to over tighten it. Alright, now this guy can go back in, I think. All right, so that's good for now. So the pump then sits on top of that right there. So I'm going to do the same thing with nuts and bolts on this side, screwing a washer on this side. Okay, so I've got my pump and filter base and pump mounted down. It's good. It's not going anywhere. Take it now, you'd have to bring the whole platform with you. So that's a pretty good setup. Let's go and set up our pump, what do you call this? Our multi-port head. And we're gonna put in the pressure gauge. All right, that comes with the pump. So we pulled out this plug, and we got to wrap some Teflon tape around the threads on the back of the valve, back of the pressure gauge, I should say. It comes with Teflon tape in the kit, so that's good. All right, so which way should you put it on? When you're looking at the threads, we're going to put it on in a clockwise direction. And I think 3 or 4 wraps is probably good enough, like that. So if you do it on clockwise, that way when you screw it into the pump head, the multi-port head, it doesn't unravel on you. And I don't think you should need anything more than hand tight. So let's just do it till it's like straight up and down, so for easy reading. That's pretty good. All right, piece of cake. All right, so let's put our hose connectors right there onto our multi-port head, and there's three outputs or three places where we're going to connect hose. This one's labeled pump, so that's going to come this way and connect to the top of our pump right there. This one back here is called pool, so that's going to take the filtered water back to the pool. And this one here is called waste, and we'll be using that when we rinse and backwash the filter. And it's not too complicated getting these on. Now, I don't have this head secured now, so we can move it around as much as we want. These don't need Teflon tape. They come with rubber gaskets. So it's a matter of just putting the gasket on there. And then screwing it in. Again, I'm going to say hand tight is all you're going to need. I really don't think you got to put tools on that. If you got average strength, that's all I'm going to do. If I find that they are not tight enough or leak, then we can use a tool. But it's a plastic head, plastic fittings. You don't want to go overboard. So again, rubber gasket. What's nice about these fittings is hand tight. They'll accommodate one or of 2 different hose sizes, so that can be very helpful. And again, gasket goes on there, and we thread it in. And hand tight should be good enough. All right, that's pretty good. Now when it comes time to put this head on, after we've filled it with sand and stuff, we've got a gasket here that slips over. So, and then that'll sit on there, and you can feel it tight because of that rubber gasket. And now we have the clamp. And this comes with the bolts and the nuts. They appear to be stainless, which is nice, so they won't rust. You can see that's going to go around there like that. And the other side's going to meet up with it. And we'll put the nut on. Nut and bolt also on this side. And we'll tighten those down securely. And that will keep our multi-port head on. And make sure you have it aligned to how you want it. Alright? I'm not going to tighten them now because it's a little premature, but I just wanted to demonstrate how you do it. Over here by the pump, there's two other spots where we have to put on these hose connectors. Again, the rubber gasket. It threads in. And hand tight is probably good enough. If you need to use a tool, go carefully. And then again, same story right here on the front. Okay, now show you something else while we're here. We're going to connect the pump and the multi-port head with this section of pipe that comes with the filter. So he's going to go on there. We've got two clamps. And this guy's going to go on here. Like so. And when the time comes, I'll clamp them down. Not going to do that quite yet, but that's a pretty easy step. Well, now connecting the inlet line to from the pool to the pump, and our connector fits really good, I think, over top of that. But this is a very rigid end, and I will clamp it, of course. But you know, I'm going to take another step just to make sure it doesn't leak. And I'm going to put some black RTV silicone sealant around this pipe, around this connector. Is that absolutely necessary? Probably not. I'm just going to do it as an extra step. I don't want this going into the pump, of course, but just to seal this. And this is not a hose that I would expect it to need to take off very often at all, which is why I don't mind, you know, securing it with a little bit of sealant. So we'll do that, and we'll also clamp it down. Good, that's great. Another optional thing you might want to do is add a piece of discharge hose to the waste port, the waste side of the multi-port head, just so that when you use the rinse feature or backwash feature, you can direct some of that water away from the base of your pool instead of just letting it puddle here beside the filter. That's just an optional thing you can do, and I opted to do it. I think that'll be helpful. Alright, it's time to add the sand. This is pool filter sand. And it's important to use this sand for your pool filter and not just buy playground sand from Home Depot. Even though it's 4 or 5 times more expensive. Apparently it's a finer grain and it's going to do a better job. And we're just going to take their word for it, okay? So let's go ahead and fill our tank with sand. So this has to go down in there first. And then we're provided with a funnel. It holds the pipe neatly in place and then allows us to fill around it and pour the sand in. So according to the directions, a 13-inch tank such as we have here take about 23 kilograms of sand, which times 2.2 pounds per kilo is just over 50 pounds. So we're going to put in 50 pounds. I bought a 50-pound bag. I'm going to put the whole thing in here. So the funnel works pretty good. It keeps the sand out of the center pipe, keeps the pipe standing up straight, and it makes filling it very easy. All right, guys, just one tip before putting the head on and running it for the first time. Let's fill the sand tank and also the pump with pool water, and we'll be ready to go. Now let's put the head on. Alright guys, so another step that we got to take before we run this thing is, although the pump runs on 110 volts house current, we have to plug it in. This timer runs on a battery, and before you use it for the first time, you got to access that battery. Make sure you're unplugged, and you got 4 screws here that I've already loosened to open up this cover. We have to access the battery because they have a plastic coating on it to keep it from, you know, discharging, you know, in storage and shipment. So that's this guy right here. So make sure you have your thing unplugged before you take this out. All right, so there's the battery. It's a CR2032 3-volt battery. And we got to pop it out of there. Okay, squeeze that tab. And now, from what they told me, there's supposed to be a coating on here to keep it from discharging, although I'm not finding one. Alright, this battery tested out just fine at 3.03 volts, and I didn't find a protective coating on it. So he's back in there. And you got to keep this in mind just in case, you know, somewhere down the line a timer stops working, you don't know what the heck's going on. Might be that battery in there. Okay, 4 screws, and it's back together, and we'll be ready to go. All right, so just a note about power supply for your pump and filter. You got about a 5-foot length of hose, and ideally should have a ground fault protected receptacle within that distance from your pump. It's not designed to be used with an extension cord. Mine, however, I'm about 40 feet from the house, and I've got an outlet over there, and I'm going to install a ground fault, a GFCI outlet there. That is very important. And I am going to use an extension cord, even though it's not advised to do that. If you're going to do it, you need to get a heavy gauged extension cord, not something like lamp cord or a real thin one. This is 14 gauge, and there's a chart on the back of this that says that a 25 or 50 foot extension cords, 14 gauge would be good for 15 amps max. Well, that will be plenty for this pump. Our pump and filter draw 3.6 amps of current. That is twice what the other little pump and filter was. That was 1.8. So it's twice the draw of what we had before, and hopefully it'll be twice as effective. But those are a few notes about power supply for your pump and filter. Well, it's about time to start this thing up, and a couple of things that I wanted to mention about this valve. First thing is, only turn it in a clockwise direction. I drew a couple arrows on here to remind myself of that. Only go in a clockwise direction. If you go past where you want to be, I'll just go around again. Also, never move this valve if the pump is running. You've got to turn the pump off. It says that on here in 3 languages. Never shift handle while pump is running. All right, and briefly, we've got 4 positions. This one's called winter. It basically takes the valve out of commission. Obviously, that's for storage. Not real important right now. So when we come around, we have backwash, rinse, and filtration. Well, it's going to spend most of its time on filtration. That's when it's sucking in water from the pool, pumping it through the sand, returning it nice and clean to the pool. But we do have to backwash every once in a while. So the backwash kind of reverses that movement through the sand and cleans out the debris and contamination that's accumulated in the sand and sends it out the discharge line. And I'll have to see how often you have to do that. I heard maybe every week or every 10 days. And one of the things that I was told is, you know when it's time to backwash when your pressure gauge is reading maybe 6 or 8 pounds higher than normal. Because that means the sand's getting pretty clogged up with contaminants and it's time to backwash it. So whatever the normal running pressure is, when you see it going 6 or 8 pounds more than that, probably time to backwash. Another indicator of it being ready for backwash is if the water running back, being pumped back to the pool, is not coming back into the pool with as much force as it usually does. So that's another thing you can keep in mind. Now rinse is another position, and that simply takes water from the pool and pumps it out the waistline. It doesn't put it through the sand filter in any direction. So what I've learned is, for our first kickoff here, we're going to start with backwash to get some of the impurities out of the new sand. So that's going to take water from the pool through the pump, through the sand in the reverse direction of normal filtration, and it's going to not put it back in the pool, it's going to put it out our waistline. So we need to do that for about 2 minutes. So let's see if we're going to be able to do this. And this is the inaugural run for me. We've got this filled with sand as well as water. I've got water running into the pump. I'm going to make sure our valves are open. Turn on the pump and see what we get here. Alright, so it's backwashing, discharging out there. Supposed to do this for 2 minutes. My discharge pipe is leaking a little bit. I'm not really going to worry about that right now. Things in the sight glass look pretty good. All right, I think that's long enough on backwash. Let's go ahead and stop the pump. And now we can move our valve to rinse and turn it back on for, I don't know, 30 seconds or so. Again, rinse discharges out the waistline. All right, turn it off, and we'll move our handle to the main show, that's filtration, and back on. And it's filtering and sending that clean filtered water back into the pool. All right, so again, I don't know what the pressure's supposed to be. I'm looking about 5 psi. Could that be right? we'll let it run for a little bit and check it again. But I think we're good to go now. And our timer is set on the 2-hour mark. And what that means is it's going to run for 2 hours, then turn off. And tomorrow at this same time, it'll turn on again and run for 2 hours. So that can be useful depending on how long and when you want the pump to run. So far though, feel like we got a winner. Yes, I really do. Well, that's about it. It's all done. It's running. It runs pretty quiet. I have it on even now. I don't know if you can hear it in video, but it's pretty quiet. And I think it's working really well. I'm looking forward to a great season of clean pool water and minimal maintenance. So yeah, pretty happy with this upgrade. Thanks for watching the video. Your comments and questions are always appreciated in the discussion below. If you liked the video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel. And I say goodbye, wishing you and your friends and family a great swimming season this year. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.